As long as I'm out here, you got a cheat code. You will never have to do wrong for nothing. You know what, CJ? I wish you could come. Come get famous, bro. Oh, look, the police right there.
This man is being accused of brutally killing his girlfriend while live streaming on Facebook. According to the police, he placed his phone on the dashboard of his car and recorded himself assaulting his girlfriend as more than 200 people watched in horror.
He choked her, he beat her, and he stabbed her. And then from there, he tried to set the car on fire.
The gruesome video was later taken down and reported to the police, but by the time the police got to the scene, the woman was already dead. This is the disturbing case of the man who killed his girlfriend on Facebook Live. Janice Mary David was born on November 3, 1987. She was originally from Port Allen, but later moved to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is where she was living when this tragic incident happened. Janice worked at Domino's Pizza, and those who knew her described her as kind and caring and a person who loved her family and was always there to help those who needed her. Unfortunately, Janice was also struggling with substance addiction, but according to her friends, she was taking steps to get help.
We both just took her to go sign up for a class at her parole and probation officer. It ain't been 2 weeks since we did this. She was supposed to be in class this week. Never made it.
The peer support specialist who had worked with Janice said that she was always smiling and hopeful that one day she'll overcome her addiction and get her life back in order.
One thing I remember about her was always her smile and always wanting to get out of, that life. I know that feeling.
Tragically, Janice's life would be brutally cut short before she even got the chance to do that. On Monday, April 18, 2022, the police in Baton Rouge received a report about a disturbing live video that was streaming on Facebook. The chilling video showed a deranged-looking man sitting in the front passenger seat of a car and rambling incoherently about his stuff being stolen. But what really caught people's attention was that seated next to him was a woman who could be heard panting heavily and begging him to stop. The woman's hands were tied with jumper cables, and she had red stains on her hair. As the man rambled on, he would hit the woman with a metal bar and jab her repeatedly with a knife. The video went on for an entire 15 minutes before someone reported it to Facebook, who then pulled it down and reported the matter to the police. An investigation was immediately launched as the police tried to figure out the location of the incident, hoping that it was all an act and that the woman would be found safe and sound. Sadly, that was not the case. As the police were trying to figure out where the video had come from, they received another call at around 4 p.m. from someone in the Sherwood Forest area, reporting that a woman's body had been found inside a car in an empty parking lot. The police immediately rushed to the scene, and what they found was truly horrific. A naked woman who was tied to the steering wheel of a partially burned BMW with a knife plunged into her neck. The woman turned out to be 34-year-old Janice David. According to the authorities, Janice had been beaten, choked, and jabbed multiple times before the car that she was in was set on fire. Some sources have said that she had over a dozen knife wounds to her head and several more to the rest of her body. An autopsy was conducted on her body, and they confirmed that her death was a homicide and that she had smoke inhalation. The police identified the killer as her 35-year-old boyfriend, Earl Lee Johnson Jr., who coincidentally was already in police custody for a completely different crime.
Stripped, bound, and unable to escape.
Please. Money guy.
Police say the woman in this video, which we've blurred, is Janice David. You can hear her begging for her life.
Money guy. I started that now.
He choked her, he beat her, and he stabbed her. And then from there, he tried to set the car on fire.
Earl Lee Johnson Jr. allegedly went on Facebook Live and took David's life in front of an audience inside of a car in Sherwood Forest, stabbing her roughly 50 to 70 times, according to a source who asked to remain anonymous.
Apparently, they were involved in some usage together for a couple of days, and as end result, as everyone has seen on Facebook Live, is very gruesome, very, very evil act.
After the gruesome killing, Earl reportedly took off and attempted to steal a car. However, the owner of the vehicle caught him in the act and called the police. When the police tried to stop him, he sped off, leading them on a high-speed car chase, but was eventually arrested at around 5:25 p.m. At this time, the police had no idea of the brutal crime that he had already committed, so they only charged him with theft of a motor vehicle and aggravated flight from an officer. When the police later discovered Janice's body, they immediately interviewed Earl, who confessed to the killing.
We launched our investigation, had a recording of the video. We already had him in custody. We interviewed him. He admitted to committing the killing.
He told the police that he was high at the time, having consumed 2 powerful narcotics, and that he tied Janice in the car using power cables and then attacked her with anything he could find. After this confession, Earl was arrested and charged with first-degree homicide, second-degree kidnapping, and obstruction of justice, among other charges. But why did he do it? What was his motive for killing Janice? In the live stream footage, Earl accused Janice of stealing money or narcotics from him, and you can actually hear Janice mumbling in agreement as he accuses her. However, given the situation that she was in, she probably did so that he would stop hurting her.
Man, so really tried to steal my shit, jump out the car with and be like, and try to make like I drank. Nobody not gonna do it like that.
After his arrest, investigators started digging into Earl's history, and what they found was really not that surprising. It turned out that Earl had quite a violent history, and that, get this, he had actually been in prison for 15 years before he committed the murder.
The 90s investigators have learned this is not Johnson's first run-in with the law. He was locked up back in 2005 on several armed robbery charges. He pleaded guilty to those charges in 2007 and was sentenced to 15 years behind bars. According to court records, his attorney at the time filed a request to reduce his sentence after he had served 4 years, but that was never approved. We're told Johnson did serve the full 15 years, meaning he was just released from prison back in January, roughly 90 days before police say he confessed to this heinous murder.
After getting out of prison, it seemed that Earl never really learned his lesson, as he went back to his old ways, robbing people and using narcotics. He would even brag about it on Facebook and Instagram, often going live and posting weird things, like on this one dated April 9th, 2022. But that's not even the most disturbing part. It turns out that before the gruesome murder, he had actually gone live on Facebook with a knife, threatening someone's life.
Say, look, real shit, because I'm trying not to cut your motherfucking ass. Real shit. You can lay around that bitch, nigga, and did a whole night to you. You gonna lay around that bitch and take your ass out to the club tonight, and you tried this shit earlier. Real shit. You tried this shit earlier, talking about some, you running out of data. Oh, yeah, they probably in my phone because I'm running out of data. I'm telling you, when I cut your motherfucking ass, real shit, because you talking about some fucking data, and you ain't got no data right now. You can't go on video. You doing everything else in the car.
Now, it's not clear when exactly the video was taken or who he was threatening, but what's really clear is that this guy was obviously unhinged. Whether this was caused by the many illegal substances he was taking, or he had some undiagnosed mental illness, has not been established. But tragically, Janice was the one that ended up paying the price for his delusions.
She just wanted somebody to just love her the way she loved, and she never found that.
Janice's family and friends were completely devastated when they learned of the awful way in which Janice had died, saying that she didn't deserve to die like that.
She was caught up in a world, I guess you could say that, it was hard for her to get away from.
You must have gave up on her as a human being. Seeing her as a human being with a problem, you gave up and just felt that her life was nothing.
Janice's loved ones held a memorial service for her, remembering her as the loving and caring person that she was. They also demanded justice and asked that the attention be focused more on her than her killer.
Everything has been focused on the guy that murdered her, and she was a victim, and her life was taken tragically.
She's a human being, and her death was glorified, and that's awful.
The fact that Janice was killed by someone she trusted and was in a relationship with made her case a horrifying example of just how bad domestic violence cases can get. And not just for women, but for men as well.
I had a chance to look at the video, and was I prepared for that? I've been doing this for a long time, and no, I wasn't.
Priscilla Ray with the Iris Domestic Violence Center says domestic violence cases are becoming more brutal. It's unclear if Johnson had